Hello, movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. So strap yourselves in, prepare to be super annoyed by my sheer level of excitement. For anyone who is not familiar with Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, I'm going to try not to do too many spoilers in this, but Monarch, Legacy of Monsters is just the next installment in the Monsterverse. And when I say Monsterverse, I do not mean multiverse, I do not mean Marvel, and I do not mean steadily going downhill over the past decade. Monsterverse is like there is a chronological order that you can watch the movies in. I know the movies I don't think have come out in chronological order, but it's like a whole comprised little world with Godzilla and King Kong and a lot of these other characters that have come out of that world. I believe it started with the original Godzilla film, and I don't mean original like the early Japanese ones. Those ones are also very good though. I think that the original Godzilla for the Monsterverse was the one that came out in 2014, and then there were quite a few others that came after that. I want to say Kong Skull Island was 2017, and then there were a couple that came out in like 2019. These are all kind of tied into the same universe, if you will, in the way that Marvel is all tied together. The Monsterverse to me is super exciting. I really liked Kong Skull Island. I really liked John Goodman. I was pleasantly surprised to see him in Monarch Legacy of Monsters. He is not listed among the cast, so I don't know if we are only ever going to see John Goodman with them using clips from Skull Island, or if he actually is going to do some additional stuff. So far, it looks like it's just clips from Kong Skull Island. So I'm not entirely sure, but Monarch Legacy of Monsters is kind of taking place in variant different time periods. So we do have the 1970s with Kong Skull Island and John Goodman, like I mentioned. And then we have Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell playing the same person, the character of Lee Shaw. Mary Yamamoto is playing the character Keiko, and then Anders Holm plays William Miranda, and that trio of people is taking place in the 1950s. And then we have some other characters. Kate Randa, Kentaro, I believe are the only two related ones that are in 2015, so it would be like the current time, but it's meant to be the current time in the chronological order of the Monsterverse. So if we're talking Godzilla made his appearance in 2014, what's happening in quote unquote modern day of Monarch Legacy of Monsters is a year later, so it's 2015. So we have different points of view that are going on in Monarch Legacy of Monsters, but it's the same world. So we still have Godzilla who makes an appearance, which I don't think this is a spoiler, but they do kind of a flashback scene of G-Day or Godzilla Day when he first kind of made his appearance in San Francisco. And they have this shot of him kind of going across the San Francisco Bridge, or like tearing through the San Francisco Bridge. And he turns to face the camera and like, chef's kiss, like was my favorite scene of this whole thing. If you are not a monster person, if you don't like Godzilla, if you are not interested in any of those like characters, if you didn't like any of the previous films, I want to say there are like 6 other films to watch that are related to the Monsterverse. If you did not like any of them, if they were not your cup of tea, you are probably not going to like Monarch Legacy of Monsters. But if you are into the Monsterverse and you are interested in like King Kong and Godzilla and all of those creatures and characters, then this is going to be right up your alley. I will say that in this television series, the only parts of this that I don't enjoy so far, there have only been 2 episodes, but the only parts that I don't like is I'm not huge on the like current day activities that are happening with Kate Randa and like her half brother. There's this whole drama thing that's going on. It's a bit too like melodramatic and too like whiny for me, whereas I am much more interested in the characters that are back in like the 1950s. So Kurt Russell's character and Miri Yamamoto, all of those people that are back in the 1950s, sort of initially looking for signs of these creatures, are the ones that I very much enjoy. So they kind of have a mixed past. So it sort of is tied up in this story that the past characters and the future characters are all related. So it is essentially 3 generations of the same family. Kurt Russell just kind of being extra. He knew like the grandmother, but it's like the grandmother, her son, and then his 2 children that are kind of all involved in this story. I find it super fascinating. I really like Godzilla. I don't know if we're going to see like a lot of the characters from previous movies other than Godzilla. Like, I don't know if their intention with Monarch Legacy of Monsters is to show like new creatures as opposed to going back to just, you know, Godzilla and King Kong and all of the ones that we've seen in previous movies. So far, it seems not, because I do not remember, and I could just be forgetting some details because the movies are a little bit older, but I do not remember the like flying sticky bat thing. I don't remember that one from previous movies, and I might just be forgetting something, but I don't remember that one, and that one is in Monarch Legacy of Monsters. No, that's not a spoiler because it doesn't give away where you see him, but yeah, I super am enjoying this. I know that like half of it I'm saying like, oh, I don't like half of these characters, but I feel like it's pretty early on, and where they leave you at the end of episode 2 kind of is with them going on this quest. So I feel like their story has potential to get better and not be just this like drama bickering between the two of them. Like, they now have a mission or a point to them being together that I feel like could elevate their storyline, and then it's bouncing back and forth pretty evenly between them and like the 1950s stuff. So I feel like altogether it's probably not going to be too terrible, but I don't know. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. I am thoroughly enjoying myself so far, so I hope you guys are really liking it. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.